Hey YouTube, I decided to make a video on a console that needs no introduction, and that is the Sony Playstation. A console that had a very strange beginning. In the death throes of the SNES, Nintendo wanted to make a CD-based console to rival that of Sega. So they made a business deal with a company called Philips, which I'm sure you heard of. But Philips decided to go off on their own and make the Philips CDI, which was a monumental failure. That's why you've probably never heard of it. Also, the same exact time, they had a dealing with Sony. That one actually showed a lot of promise, but something happened with the deal and it fell through. And Sony decided to go off on their own and create the PlayStation. So in the end, Nintendo created its own rival. The PlayStation went off onto its own to become the best-selling 32-bit console on the market, selling about 125 million units, and had a lifespan of about 11 years, released in the US in 95, and its lifespan ended in 2006. It had a lot of unique features. I think one of them being its controller. This one being the original. The familiar 4 buttons on the back with, the triangle, X, square, and circle buttons, and the D-pad. Shortly after that, they came out with the dual analog, which had its now familiar dual analog sticks, and then shortly after that, they came out with this one, which was the Dual Shock, which had some minor changes. Buttons got a little bigger on the back, as you can see, and it had rumble. As a matter of fact, this controller was so good, they actually moved it to its successors, the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3. So it shows how good of a controller that is. It had the most extensive library of any video game console ever made. Its best-selling game, selling just a hair under 11 million units, was Gran Turismo. Also had other games such as Final Fantasy and my personal favorite, Metal Gear Solid. But besides that, I think it's a very ugly console. Just an ugly gray box. Had these ugly ridges on the side and just an ugly gray color. Had the reset, power button, open tray button, serial, AV, and power inputs. Earlier models had had more inputs on the back. This one being a later model, it's a 9000 model, so it doesn't have those on the back. And in 2000, they decided to do a redesign, which became the PS1. I think this came out shortly before or shortly after the PlayStation 2. They decided to give it a refresh, and I guess they just changed the name to just call it PS1 instead of PlayStation. This one didn't sell as well. Like I said before, the PlayStation 2 just came out. So, it was still selling units, it just wasn't selling as well as the PlayStation 2. So, as a matter of fact, before I get to that, I have an original PS1, still sealed, with its sticker, never been opened, and it will stay like that. But like I said before, the PS1 was kind of on its deathbed, since the PS2 was really taking over the market. So Sony decided to release, and I think one of the best combo packs ever was the PS1 combo with the 5-inch screen. This was came extremely late in its life cycle. This came with this little screen that popped onto the back. Had an extremely great screen with stereo sound. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. So you can play it on the go. Actually came with an adapter, so you can play it in your car. So that's pretty cool. So you can have your PS1 on the go, fold it down like that. Just a great console. Great console. As a matter of fact, I love it so much. I own 3 of them. And I own its successors, the PS2 and the PS3. So great job, Sony. And hopefully you'll have more stuff coming soon. Thanks.